What up, nerds? And welcome back to Lily's Ranger Talk. I am Lily with Lily's Ranger World, and we're going to be doing a different video today. I'd like to call it the egotistical episode. So, this is actually a remake of a video that I made on my Instagram 2 years ago. Because, fun fact, Lily's Ranger Talk did not start with my Kia Major rant. It started with my Instagram videos. I did, I think two or three of these videos on Instagram. Around March 2024, I was actually yes, because I was home for spring break and I was waiting for food, and I made my intro video, um, which is like a get to know me, like how I got into all of these franchises, um, and I because again, this was actually supposed to be an Instagram series where you would see my face and I would talk to you guys unscripted because I'm always unscripted. But I was having technical difficulties with Instagram with one of the episodes and it didn't upload the whole episode. And a friend on my Ranger Instagram suggested that I do YouTube. So here we are. Again, I love this format. The only downside is because I don't have a camera, or a good camera at least, you don't get to see my beautiful nerdy self unless I put a picture of myself on the title card, which I did for the playlist podcast. I put my face on there, and for this episode, you get to see my beautiful face. Don't I look so pretty? I don't know which picture I put, but I'm assuming I look pretty. But yes, we're going to be doing just a little get to know me, get to know the host, 20 episodes in, 20 plus episodes in, because this is probably going to be episode 22 or episode 23, probably episode 22. I'm mainly doing this because I have a couple video ideas that are Ranger related, but I also wanted to, get to know my audience. I want my audience to get to know me. Um, the other two videos you guys want to know is a video that I did try to do on Instagram a couple years ago, and I've talked about wanting to do this video again. Is like my dream collections video. Like if I had infinite amount of money, like what would I get? And then I also talked about this in my Daddy Ranger review, the last video that I made. I think I'm going to go forward with talking about Time Force and 25 years. It is my favorite Power Ranger series. I think it does deserve some flowers, even if I'm still currently frustrated with Power Rangers and haven't really been as involved in Power Rangers as I have been with Super Sentai lately. But anyways, with that being said, let's get to know the host, aka moi. As I said in the intro, hi, I'm Lily. I don't know why. I'm cool, right? I'm cringe. I'm so cringe. Anyways, I am 24 years old as of June 2026. My birthday's in April of 2002, the year of Hurricane, or if you're a Power Rangers fan, Wild Force. What else can I say? Like general information. I'm from upstate New York. I went to college. I went to Ithaca College and I graduated in winter 2024 with a writing degree. I've talked about that constantly because I have a way with words as a writing major. I'm not good at talking. What else can I say? General information. I have two older brothers. I have two nephews who are my babies and the loves of my lives. Um, I do ASMR. I am an ASMR artist. Um, on TikTok, you may know me as Lily Pond ASMR. Yes, that's me. Same person. I don't talk about my ASMR account on Ranger Gram or Ranger Talk, which I'm not even on Ranger Talk, like Power Ranger TikTok or Super Sentai TikTok. At least not as a content creator. Um, I am as we know, I do have an Instagram at Lily's underscore Ranger World, which I actually did start in college. It's so funny because it's so crazy to think I started this journey 6 years ago at college because I wanted to connect more with Power Ranger fans, and I wasn't even watching Super Sentai at the time, which is so weird to think. So, like, I was strictly watching Power Rangers, and it was also a motivation for me to watch more Power Rangers seasons because I didn't really watch a lot of them. Like, I have seen at least one episode in every season, um, but I wanted to watch more. So, and I have. But let's talk about how I got into Power Rangers. So, as I mentioned in this video, and also in other videos, I have two older brothers. One of those brothers was born in 1994, so around the time Power Rangers was airing. And he was a huge fan of Power Rangers, honestly, probably a bigger fan than I was. And we owned a lot of VHS tapes, specifically of Mighty Morphin, but we do have, some from like Lightspeed Rescue, some from Lost Galaxy. In fact, I think that's all we had was like Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, like some of those specials. Like it was specifically the Magnum Defender and the Titanium Ranger specials that were going on, but it wasn't the whole Titanium Ranger special because I think like I had no idea he was evil, the Titanium Ranger. But yeah, and with Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin at least, it was mainly like the fan favorite stuff. So we had Day of the Dumpster, a couple of like other episodes, um, a few specials too. Like I think we had Alpha's Magical Christmas. Let's see what else. I mainly grew up with like season one Mighty Morphin, so I think we had Green with Evil, but I don't even recall like watching it. I do remember watching like the White Ranger special. That one was my favorite. I think we had Green with Evil, but I don't recall ever personally watching it because I had my favorites. Like I had my favorite episodes that I watched. Like my favorite episode of Mighty Morphin, probably of all time, and I can't remember the name to save my life. Like no clowning around. It had something to do with clowns because it had to do with Pineapple, the clown, and then it was actually a monster by Rita. It was a Trini focus episode. Um, and Trini is my one of my favorite Yellow Rangers of all time because Trini's cool. But yeah, that was my introduction to Power Rangers. As a franchise in particular, you're probably wondering how I got into Power Rangers Time Force because I've talked about how that is my favorite season of all time. I'll tell you how I didn't get into Power Rangers Time Force through a VHS tape. Now, I'm pretty sure I already said this, or you could assume I said this by saying I only had Lightspeed Rescue and whatchamacallit, Lost Galaxy, but I didn't have any Time Force VHS tapes, no specials whatsoever, so no clue of the series itself through the series, if that makes sense. But I didn't, my brother did have a Power Rangers Time Force PS1 game. And we had a PS2, and I put the disc in, and I was terrified. I wasn't terrified of, like, the game itself, but, like, the theme song, because I had to have been no older than 6 years old. I could have been even younger. I was old enough to know that video game, it was a Power Rangers video game. Because, logo recognition. Um, but, like, imagine being so little, and I also have autism, if that also helps, and you hear, Time Force! Time Force! Like, very loudly through a TV. Like, I was terrified. And then, I don't even know, like, what core made me think, oh, I wonder if this was a series. But, again, that's why I said I can't be any older than 6. Because I was definitely old enough to, like, use the internet. And YouTube wasn't created until I was 3. So, ergo, 3 to 6. But probably, like, 6 years old. At the oldest. But I looked up Power Rangers Time Force, saw clips of the show, and I fell in love. I fell in love with Jen. I fell in love with obviously Trip, favorite Ranger of all time. You would say he was your favorite too if you were 6 years old and you saw, ooh, that guy has green hair, and I'm sure kids who actually grew up with the series thought of that too. I'm not saying that they didn't. Um, but yeah, that was my introduction to Time Force, and then I eventually watched it on Netflix when it was on at the time. Um, I think that was the only season at the time where I've watched every single episode. Obviously, since then I have gotten more seasons under my belt, more of the recent seasons, if I'm being honest, because I've watched Beast Morphers, and then Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury, and I do want to go back and watch other seasons too. The last season I watched of Power Rangers was last year. I watched SPD, but I kind of want to watch um Jungle Fury, but I also want to watch Geki Ranger at some point too, Super Sentai. Um, what else do I want to say about Power Rangers? Oh, my introduction to Beetleborgs was very similar to my introduction to Power Rangers through VHS tape. I looked it up on the internet. I already talked about Beetleborgs, so I'm not going to go too much into Beetleborgs, just because I have a video, an hour-long video where I yap about that. So if you want to see all these episodes, check the playlist, because I yap a lot. So now let's talk about my introduction to Super Sentai, which was also, it's not exactly similar to Power Rangers, but it also is. Anyways, I couldn't have been, the youngest I could have been is 6, because this had to have gone on during actually it did go on during Engine Sentai Go Under. But I was just watching Power Ranger videos on the internet, as one does when, how to type Power Rangers on YouTube. And there was this video, and I talked about this in my Diary Ranger review, of a guy or a girl or I don't know, someone opening, like, it was Engine Sentai Go Under candies. Like, they were like hard candies. And that was my introduction to Super Sentai. It was a strange one, but it's my introduction to Super Sentai. And other videos that I saw that were Super Sentai videos, G3 Princess from Go Under, I think, was one of them. The Magi Ranger ending theme song was also among the first. The Diary Ranger opening was also the first, and along with the first henshin that they did, was again among the first, a comparison video with Geki Ranger and Jungle Fury. They're like henshin slash morphs. Am I speaking of? Am I the only one who liked the Jungle Fury morpher? Just me? Okay. Um. Anyways, where am I going with this? But yeah, my introduction to Super Sentai was not through watching it itself, but more just clips and stuff. And I had no idea what they were saying. In fact, during the roll call of Diary Ranger, I thought when, they say their names like Ryo, Daigo, Shoji, Kazu, Rin, I thought those were the names of the colors in Japanese. And I was wrong. Um, but yeah. And then when I was a teenager, I watched some of Time Ranger. Like, not the whole series. I watched one. I think, honestly, I think I watched the equivalent of Trip Takes a Stand. Or the counterpart of Trip Takes a Stand for Time Ranger when I was a teenager. And then when I was slightly older, like in college, I watched. It was mainly the Sion focused episodes of Time Ranger. I talked about this in the past, but because of how much I love Time Ranger, I don't think I'm ever going to watch Time Ranger as a series. That's like the one series that I don't have an interest in watching. Of course, I can change my mind, but you just never know. I also started watching Diary Ranger in college, but like I watched, I think, up to like 3 or 4 episodes, and then I stopped because I wanted to watch Dino Thunder. Or I no, I think I started Dino Thunder or I ended I either began Dino Thunder like during my winter break of my first year, or I ended it right before I started Dino Ranger. I'm not really so sure because this was around before um all the Power Ranger seasons ended up going off of Netflix and Beetleborgs, and I still will never forgive them for that. Even though you can watch Power Rangers on YouTube and Tubi and all that, and you can watch Beetleborgs on Tubi. But yeah, I'll never forgive them for that. But anyways, back to Super Sentai. My first official Super Sentai season that I watched in full was Mahou Sentai Magi Ranger. That show does hold a very special place in my heart. After Magi Ranger, I tried watching Gokaiger. I wasn't ready for Gokaiger. I didn't get the hype. So I put a couple more seasons under my belt, although oddly, they were not seasons before Gokaiger. They were seasons after Gokaiger. I watched Zyuohger, Kyuranger, and Lupet all at the same time, which was stupid. But I ended up really loving Kyuranger. As you guys know, that is my favorite Super Sentai season. One that I do want to rewatch to see if I still would rank it number one. I probably will. Um, but and then I watched Kia Major or tried to, and then we all know how I feel about Kia Major. I then what else did I watch? I think I've watched all except for one of the 2010 seasons. Wait, two. Ryusoger. Um, but yeah, really in college and high school, and like my tail end of high school, that's when I really started getting into both Power Ranger and Super Sentai. And that's when I really started watching it more and realizing how much of an interest I have in it. Um, let's talk about like childhood toys I had. For Power Rangers specifically, because obviously Super Sentai, I didn't have any toys. I had all of and still do have all of the Mighty Morphin Rangers when they did like that relaunch back in 2010, or relaunch, I think that's the right word, revival. I had all the Rangers. Well, actually, I stole a Red Ranger from my brother, but and I think every other guy Ranger. I had the girl Rangers. I had yellow and pink, but I eventually stole all of them. Sorry, Jesse. Sorry, from my younger older brother too. Sorry, Jesse. Um. Anyways, um, but I had Ranger figures myself. I had the Jungle Fury figures, the ones that like you flick them and they make noise. I had like a set of those, and I think the only one I didn't have was the shark one. If I'm being, or no, I might have had the shark one. I don't remember now. No, that was the Blue Ranger. I had shark. No, I had the Red Ranger, the Blue Ranger, the Bat Ranger, and then the Elephant Ranger. I don't think I had the Shark Ranger. And then I didn't have the Yellow Ranger or the Violet or White Ranger. Um, and then I also have all of Samurai except for Gold, and it was like their Megazord mode, which I don't know. I don't like. As an adult, I don't like it now. As a kid, loved them, loved them. And then I started Megaforce. I have red, yellow, and pink. Which, hey, I'm glad I have pink for the Super Sentai side of it, since Eri is one of my favorite Pink Rangers from Super Sentai of all time. So that worked. I don't know if I. So I kind of watched like Samurai, Megaforce, and Super Megaforce, just not in full. Like I definitely have more memories with Samurai than I do Megaforce and Super Megaforce. Um, I was a Disney kid. Leave me alone. Speaking of Disney, I went to Disney before. And this had to have been, may I mention, weeks before they stopped doing this. I had to have been among the last people to do this. But when I went to Disney World, when I went to Hollywood Studios, I did the Power Rangers experience. And again, this is so funny because I didn't end up watching the season until much, much later. But I did meet the Mystic Force Pink Ranger. I do have a picture of it. Not on my phone, unfortunately, but or else I would have put it on there. Because wouldn't it have been so cool to see little Lily as a. That was so cool. Coolest experience ever. And it's so funny to think about this now, like as an adult, because I as an adult, I don't think I would have gone. Well, maybe I would have if I had more time. Because really, with how long the lines were, you really only had time to go see one ranger at a time. Because it wasn't. Because, they would come out to do a little show thing, then you would go meet them. You really only had time to go meet one ranger, really, depending on how long the line is. Um, my brother met the SPD Red Ranger. And again, like I said, I met the Pink Ranger. I think I eventually met the Yellow Ranger too, but like not necessarily like in an official meet and greet. I don't know. I genuinely do not know. I got a picture in front of the car. That was cool. Um, but yeah, it's so funny because as an adult, I don't know if I would go meet the Pink Ranger because at the time, the Green Ranger was Ziggy from RPM, and if I was an adult, RPM's my second favorite Power Ranger season. I probably would go meet the RPM Green Ranger as an adult. And if I had time, I would go see the Pink Ranger. Um, Granted, this was if I was an adult in 2010. Assuming that this is getting off topic, but assuming that Power Rangers still was owned by Disney and they would still do this, I don't think it would be Ziggy anymore. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that was a cool experience, and I would do it again in a heartbeat, even as an adult. Because that was really cool. Okay, what else did I own as a child? Um, as a child, I does anyone remember these mix and morphs? They were like you put them in like some sort of thing, and like a morpher, and then you could mix and match rangers. I had that as a kid. That was cool. I never got any extra packs though. I think I just got the basic pack. And as for toys that my brother had that I stole as a kid, he had the Quantum Ranger Morpher, which I didn't steal that as much, but I wish we kept it because those things are expensive. I also remember having the Wild Force Wolf Morpher. My brother had that. I chewed the teeth off. Or I don't know if I did. My younger older brother probably did. What else did my older brother have? Those are the only two things that I can note. Wait, no, we had some Zords, and I had Zords. I forgot I had Zords. I had the Jungle Fury Megazord, and I had um, again from the 2010 series, the Dino Megazord. But I think my brother at one point had the Thunder Megazord, the Thunder Sword, because I remember him having like one of the blue rain. I think it was the blue sword, or the mythical key beast. And then I think he also at one point had the Turbo Zord, because I think one of them was also from Turbo. And you might be asking yourself, Lily, were you a Power Ranger growing up as a kid? Did you dress up as a Power Ranger for Halloween? And the answer is, you bet I did. My second grade year actually, I dressed up as, and this is so weird because I was in second grade 2009 2010, right? And I believe at that time it would have been RPM. But I was the Operation Overdrive Pink Ranger. I have a picture. I might put it up. But I'm gonna blur because it's a group picture with like kids, and I'm gonna blur out the other kids. We might be adults now, but I'm gonna protect their childhood. I guess. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but yes, I was the Pink Operation Overdrive Ranger, and this is like coming back to me as I'm thinking about this and like talking about this. But I remember when I was younger, when I was like, I want to be a Power Ranger for Halloween this year. I remember, I think I did want to be the Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger, but we couldn't find it. Either we couldn't find it, or it was too expensive. Um, one of the two. And yeah, I was the Operation Overdrive Pink Ranger, but I was not allowed to wear the mask at school because, you know, breathing problems, I guess, like issues with I I think that's why, like, if you can't see like your face, which that stinks. But yeah, that was a really cool costume. And going off on a tangent, the other day I went on eBay because I was curious how many like Halloween costumes did Power Rangers have. And while eBay's probably not the best source of finding these Halloween costumes, you just I just looked. And there, I think, and again, I'm not a 90s kid, so I could be completely wrong about this, but I think some Power Ranger seasons didn't get costumes for Halloween. And again, I could be wrong because I'm not a 90s kid. I was not there, and eBay's not a great like source. And unrelated to that, something I didn't know existed, but I found on eBay too when I was looking at Beetleborg stuff, there was Beetleborg's costumes, and I'm just here thinking I would have killed to be a Beetleborg for Halloween when I was a kid. I love Halloween. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. And going back on Halloween, and I'm not going to show a picture of this because I'm protecting my nephew's image, but my nephew was a Power Ranger for Halloween too. I think he was 3 at the time, so this was my oldest nephew. And they did like a group. My family did a group costume with them. So my mom she was the red Dino Fury Ranger. So my mom grabbed like a T-shirt with the pink suit on. My dad, got the blue Mighty Morphin, like kind of bodysuit. Scarred me. And I can't remember if my brother and sister-in-law dressed up, but they probably did. Um, and I was a proud aunt that year. I could not join in the Halloween festivities because I was at college at the time, and I had my own like Halloween costume plan. Um, it kind of segues into the next thing I want to talk about, which is cosplay. Now, I have done like a little bit of cosplay time and time again. I actually for a con one year, and I don't go to conventions often. This was Ificon, which is that was where I went to school at Ithaca, so it was an easy access convention for me because I could go. It was cheap, and I was able to go. It was on campus, and I lived on campus, so it was easy to get there. But anyways, it segues. I did cosplay or tried to cosplay as Luca from Gokaiger, in her civilian outfit. Nobody knew who I was, which that makes sense. Super Sentai is, definitely more niche than like Power Rangers is. And even if I cosplay, I know I want cosplay as like a female trip in the future. No one would probably know who I was. Well, maybe adults, but like people my age probably wouldn't. Not many of my peers. And granted, I'm a really shy person. I don't really talk to that many like students on campus, and to begin with, but not many of them knew Power Rangers, and they didn't know Power Rangers. They definitely didn't know Super Sentai. But anyways, I would love to have like a suit and a helmet, from either Power Rangers or Super Sentai or both, if they're adaptations. If I had to choose one suit, that would be really hard, and I think it definitely depends on if I'm leaning towards more Super Sentai or Power Rangers. If I'm leaning towards more Super Sentai and like more like not adaptations of Power Ranger seasons, I mean Q Ranger is definitely up there, but I think I would go for Tokija first, maybe. I don't know. I would be pink regardless, or green, depending on. But I think I would go for like, washy pink. I think I would go for Raptor. But I've also, if we're leaning towards Power Rangers, you would think Time Force, and I definitely think Time Force would be on like the top. But there's other I like I, this could be an episode in itself, and I did one like 2 years ago on my Instagram back when the series was exclusively on Instagram where I talked about my favorite suits, but I don't know. I would definitely go for Time Force, Time Ranger, whichever one you prefer. And I probably would go for the Green Ranger and maybe like add a skirt. I don't know. Well, a skirt's not a deal breaker for me. I don't care if Power Rangers have skirts or not. I think it's cool, but I don't care for it. Like, it's not something I need, you know? Like, yeah, I don't know, but another dream of mine, and I'm sad I can't go this year, but I really want to go to Power Morphicon, especially now that we're getting more Sentai actors. And I'm really mad because this year, Kane from Kaki Ranger, he plays Jiraiya. I would, he's like one of the actors I really want to meet, along with Mao Ichimichi. And forgive me, I don't know many of like the Super Sentai actors' names. Like, call me a fake fan. It's not that I don't know them. I don't remember them. Like, I do look up characters and like actors' names. I just don't remember most of them. So like, I feel bad. I feel bad and I feel like a fake fan. Um, but I know Ryota's coming back. Gokai Red, and he's bringing. I can't remember either of their names, and I knew one of their names. He's bringing back the actors for Gokai Pink and Gokai Green. Gokai Pink, I know was the last time too, and I think we're getting closer to having a full team of Super Sentai. And it makes sense as Gokaiger. I feel jealous for everyone. I really want to meet Ryota. I really want to meet all of Gokaiger. They would be so cool. Well, you know, the ones who could go. um, and this is also, I think I made a video on this on on like my main TikTok, where I talk about actors I would love to see from Super Sentai come to America, come to these cons. I think also, and I think her name is Ray, and I could be completely wrong. Or Rika or something like that. I can't like I said, I stuck with actors' names. But Terra Ranger, or yeah, Terra Ranger. May from Zyuranger, and also Time Fire's coming, and I think Go On Black's coming, and then also, and it's so cool too to see like the counterparts like meeting up together. I thought it was so cool to see Andrew Gray and Ryota together, even though like I don't really like Andrew Gray as a person. I still think it's cool to see them together. Ooh. My mic fell. But yeah, I would love to go to Pyromorphicon. Meet Super Sentai actors. I didn't even talk about Power Ranger actors. Of course, I want to meet Power Ranger actors. I have met one in the past. I've met Jason Font. He actually came to my hometown like 5 years ago, and that was a crazy. Again, this is someone like politically, I do not agree with Jason Font. And I tried my best to separate, you know, politics from like actors and like from people I admire. For that reason, but you know, he was a really nice guy, and obviously we didn't talk about politics. Um, and I do really like him. I was fangirling like hard. Like I remember that experience. It was at like some random like book shop in my hometown. I came home that weekend from college specifically to go meet him, and I remember I had my Jason Font. I had my West figure, my West Lightning collection figure, like holding holding on to it. I was looking at like other Rangers. They had like other Lightning collection figures. I at the time got Jack SPD Red, and which is so random because I didn't watch SPD yet. Um, maybe I started SPD though. Because I know I started SPD at one point, and then I just stopped watching it after a while. But yeah, I was looking at Rangers, and he comes up behind me and he said, I really like your figure. And I'm like, thanks, it's you. And then I got in line and met him. I told him, like, how much his season meant to me. I was, like, fangirling hard. I got to touch his helmet, and I said out loud, like, I can't believe I'm not worthy of holding this helmet. I told him about, like, how much I love Trip, and he's actually coming back, and he's going to, another convention that I may or may not be going to. I want to go, not necessarily because of him, but this will segue to the next section, which is other media that I like. But I love Phineas and Ferb, and Vincent Martella, who voices Phineas, is actually from my hometown, and he's coming. And the new voice of Verb, David Ergo Jr., I think is his name. Um, but they're both coming, and years ago, my older brother got to meet Vincent Martella when he came to Rochester, and he was at like this local pizza place where his uncle owns it. Vincent's uncle, not my uncle. Um, and he went with a friend, and I couldn't go. Like, I was not allowed to go. I don't know why. Um, and I, not that my brother didn't like Phineas and Ferb, but I think I was a bigger Phineas and Ferb fan than he was as a kid. But yeah, he went. He got like an autographic picture. So I want to go to meet him. I want to tell him that story, and if I can, get a video of him and me and being like, "Hey, Jesse, guess who I met?" And I have video evidence or something like that. It'd just be a full circle moment. But yeah, I do want to go to more conventions in general, and of course, Power Morphicon would be a dream. And of course, you know, I would love. We all know the number one Super Power Ranger actor I want to meet is Kevin Kleinberg, who plays Trip. If I meet him, you will never hear me shut up about that. I'll bring it up in episodes where I'm not even talking about Power Rangers. And considering I don't talk about Power Rangers nearly as much because, I'm mad with Power Rangers currently just because of how it's been treated. Um, Although I'm hopeful for the future. I know Disney's making a series, um, which I believe will be Mighty Morphin, but whatever. Um, I'm excited for the future of Power Rangers. I'm excited. I think Disney will do a good job. I hope. Um, I mean they did a good job with the Disney seasons, but that's because they were very hands off, I think. But yeah, let's move on to other media I like. So I'm a nerd through and through. I I will say this: I don't watch a lot of anime, or really any. You would think since I watch Super Sentai that I would watch anime, and look, I do not hate anime. I don't. I just don't watch a lot of it. A lot of it isn't interesting to me. There are some that I do want to at least try and watch. Like I want to try and watch Sailor Moon. I've heard good things about Sailor Moon. I have watched, and I want to continue watching, but I have ADHD, so it's hard for me to watch stuff. I started watching Frieren, and I really liked it. Like I watched a good chunk of it. I just haven't finished like the first season, but I really liked it. And I have watched the Danganronpa anime, but that's because I played the games and I was in the Danganronpa, one of the Danganronpa musicals. I was in the first one actually, as Hifumi, if you guys did not know. But that's just one of the animes I've watched. When I was in high school, I watched Maid Sama, and I really liked Maid Sama. And let's see, I have watched a little bit of the Pokemon anime. But yeah, I'm not a huge anime person. I tried watching Demon Slayer, but I wasn't like I got like maybe 2 3 episodes in and I wasn't really into it. Um, but I'm not I'm not like against anime, and I'm definitely not an anime hater. Um, and I'm definitely not like a cartoon hater because I love cartoons. I love SpongeBob. Like my childhood seasons of SpongeBob, which is like the early seasons. And some of the newer stuff isn't bad, but I definitely prefer like, and I know this is controversy because I know a lot of people say like the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob are perfect, and I mean I love those seasons too, but I argue also like once you get to like season 8 or 9, I feel like that's where it's like And granted, I don't like the Squidward torture episodes that much anymore as an adult, especially since I feel like I'm a combination of SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick. It depends on the day. But yeah, I do love SpongeBob. I love Phineas and Ferb, as I mentioned. That is definitely one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I last year I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time in full, and I can't believe I missed out. When I was a child. But I was more watching like Disney Channel than I was Nickelodeon at the time, so that's partially why. But man, Avatar is such a special show. Like, I really, really enjoyed my time with it. Other shows I like that are not necessarily like cartoons, they're live action. I love Stranger Things. Stranger Things is one of my favorite shows. I know a lot of people didn't like how season 5 ended. I'm one of the few. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'm fine with how season 5 ended for the most part. Um, my favorite character in Stranger Things is Dustin, but that is because I have a big fat lesbian crush on Gaten Matarazzo. That is not a secret. Um, my friends, my family, everybody knows like I have a crush on him, and also he's like one of my favorite actors. He's a really good actor. He's gonna be in Rent. I'm not as much as I was when I was younger, but I do love musicals, and Rent is one of my favorite musicals, and I know he's a musical person, Gaten, and I always thought he would be a great Mark in Rent. So, and he's gonna be playing Mark, and I'm like, I manifested this. I have also manifested him playing Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors, which is also one of my favorite musicals. I actually did Little Shop not once but twice. Once when I was in high school, and once when I was in college. In high school, I was like in the ensemble. I was Mrs. Luce to be specific. In Make Shall Inherit, and I was also the plant puppeteer. So I puppeteered most of the plants, except for the one that Seymour like holds in a jacket. And then when I did it in college, I was Mr. Mushnick, and that was my first like huge role. But that's getting off of a tangent from live action shows. Um, I do like a lot of like of the shows I watched when I was a kid. But there's some that I cannot watch anymore as an adult. Like, I haven't watched Hannah Montana in years. Not because it's a bad show, I just can't watch it. Same with Sweet Life with Zack and Cody, although I can watch it every now and again. I love Sweet Life. That's one of my favorite shows, when I was a kid. Um, I have watched some of the newer Disney shows, and I think they're pretty good, even as an adult. Um, I thought Vampirina was really cool, and Electric Bloom, and Villains of Valley View. I wish that got renewed for a third season. I I haven't finished the second season ever, but I really liked it. I thought it was gonna be more like Thundermans from Nickelodeon, but with villains. But honestly, it's more like Wizards of Waverly Place, which is a show I also love. That one was one of my favorites growing up. But like other shows, like I've watched as an adult for like the first time. I love Abbott. Abbott Elementary. I love it. my favorite, and this wasn't necessarily an adult show either that I watched, but I love The Golden Girls. That's one of my favorite sitcoms. And it connects me with my father because my dad and I love that show. And a lot of a lot of the shows like my dad watch, I don't really like. There are some exceptions. Like I do like he watches Modern Family. I like Modern Family. What else does he watch? That honestly might be it that I'm thinking of. There's some shows that I don't hate, but I'll watch it. That my dad likes. But I love Golden Girls. Rose is one of my favorite characters. In my head, I like to think I'm a Rose. But I'm probably a Sophia or a Dorothy. Um, but yeah, and obviously this is excluding Power Ranger stuff because obviously we know I like Power Rangers and Beetleborgs. Um, is there anything else show wise I like? I've watched The Neighborhood. I did like a binge watching of it like for the past couple months, and I really liked The Neighborhood. Except I haven't watched like I started the last season, but I have not finished it. I was gonna start with this, and then I got on a tangent about anime and got into like TV shows, but now we're gonna talk about video games. I love video games. Specifically, I am a Nintendo fan. I had a Wii growing up. Like, I feel like a lot of people, especially families, had Wii's growing up. And then I got a Wii U when I was 13, for Christmas, which ironically was like 2 years before the Switch came out. And then I do own a Switch and a Switch 2. I actually recently got the Switch 2, recently, like 6 months ago, with my own money that I've earned, and I was really proud of that. Um, Now games I like to say I'm like a casual player, um, and I really just like anything. Um, when that's not to say like I've never played like other systems. I have played Xbox a little bit when I was younger. When I was younger, and when I say younger, I mean I shouldn't have been playing these games, but here we are. Um, I played like Red Dead Redemption and GTA 4 and 5. And again, I shouldn't have been playing those games at the ages I was. I was like 11, 12 at the time, and I definitely should have not been playing those games. Um, but I was also mature for my age, so like there's that. But yeah, I really like those games, and I would play them, you know, as often. And then the Xbox got moved like from my living room to my brother's room, and obviously I wasn't gonna go in my brother's room. So that's when I kind of stopped playing like those kinds of games. Um, but I really love, Mario Kart. I'm a huge Mario Kart fan. Loved Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm not the biggest fan of the newest one. I got the bundle with Mario Kart World for the Switch 2, and like it was fine, I guess. I mainly got a Switch 2 because I am a huge fan of Fire Emblem. I started playing Free Houses was my first game, and I was hooked. Um, and I want to play older games. I've always wanted to play Awakening. I did not own a 3DS, and I still don't own a 3DS. Um, but yeah, I loved Fire Emblem Free Houses. I liked Fire Emblem Engage. It wasn't my favorite. Like gameplay wise, it was good. Story wise, definitely was not as good. And I'm really excited for Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. That was why I got the Switch 2. It's coming out in September. I am so excited. I'm hoping for it to be a good game. It looks like it. It looks like it's gonna be a good game, and I think it is like some sort of prequel to Free Houses, which I love. Um, I have played a little bit of Path of Radiance, I think, on like Nintendo Switch Online, and then I've played a little bit of like the first game that came out in the States, which I don't know like the sub name for that because it's just called Fire Emblem here, but it's the one with Lyn. And again, I like those games. But I'm definitely like, it's the ADHD, man. I don't, and I think it doesn't help that there's no voice acting. At least there's definitely not voice acting in the first game. But even in Path of Radiance, there isn't too much. Otherwise, like, I'd be hooked. When it comes to other games I play, Nintendo games, again, Mario, I love Mario. Don't play it as much as you would think though. Like, I grew up playing Super Mario World on like the GBA. I love that game. Never beaten it. I grew up playing New Super Mario Brothers. Love that game. Never beaten it. Um, I've played Super Mario Wonder. Love that game. Did beat it. Um, I've never played a 3D Mario game before though, or beaten it. I mean, I've played a little bit of 64 and Sunshine and Galaxy, but not like on their systems. Like, I had like the 3D All Stars pack, and I played them there. But again, never beaten them, and I've never played Odyssey like ever, except for maybe like in the store. I'd be interested in playing Odyssey. It's not that I'm not. It's just, with how expensive those games can be, I'm getting the games that I want to play. Um, I actually recently, within the last couple months, got into The Legend of Zelda. I have played Ocarina of Time a little bit, but I'm bad at that game. Actually, I'm bad at Zelda in general, but because they're puzzle games and it really makes you think. But yeah, I started playing when I got the Switch 2. I got the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild because I was like, well, I've never played Breath of the Wild. I know it's more expensive than the Switch 1 version, but I might as well. And I got hooked. I loved it. Then I played Tears of the Kingdom, and I love it. If you ask me, I'm doing a second playthrough of Breath of the Wild with the DLC. If you were to ask me which one I liked better, I think I'm with the majority, or at least the majority of what I've seen on the internet. And I'm going with Breath of the Wild. Um, but yeah, they just also announced the Ocarina of Time remake. I'm so excited. I definitely will be probably picking that up. Um, and playing it and maybe beating it. I don't know. I want to play more Zelda games. I started Wind Waker and then I messed up like with the save, and I lost all my progress, and now I'm mad. And then, what's the name of the game? Diminish Cap. I also started that one, and then I got stuck. These games can be difficult. What can I say? But yeah, I'm definitely interested in playing more Zelda games. I am a huge Bayonetta fan. I like hack and slash games. I played Bayonetta 1 and 2 like 5 years ago, I think. 4 or 5 years ago. And then, actually, I think it was 5 years ago because then that next year I played Bayonetta 3. Now, if you ask me, my favorite, like, games of that in order, I'd probably go Bayonetta 1, 3, then 2. And I don't know if it's because I just didn't like the design of Bayonetta 2, like a Bayonetta in 2. I don't know. I haven't played the spin-off game, the Cereza game. Let's see. I also played Persona 5. I really liked Persona 5. I haven't beaten Persona 5. I'm stuck, and I've been stuck now for probably a year, 2 years at this point. Um, to the point where, like, do I restart the game? But I don't want to. I do not want to. Um, what other games do I play? Again, I'm a casual player. I do like, you know, I'm probably one of the few who likes Nintendo Switch Sports, but also I have a nephew and we play Nintendo Switch Sports every now and again. I'm excited for the new one to come out. I really want to play more Kirby. I've played one Kirby game, which is like I think it was Return to Dreamland. I'm not sure. I want to play the Forgotten Land. I've heard great things about that game. Um, but yeah, I really want to play more Kirby. what else do I want to say? Are there any other series? Oh, cozy games. I love cozy games. I do like Animal Crossing a lot. I wanted to play New Leaf, but again, did it on the 3DS. But I did get New Horizons on my 18th birthday, um, which was back during the pandemic, and that was fun. And I am on and off it. Currently, I'm off it. Um, I'm actually playing a shit ton of Stardew Valley. I started playing it on my birthday, but 6 years later, so recently, I went out to dinner with one of my best friends. We stopped at Target, and she was like, "You need to start playing Stardew Valley." And I mean, her and my other best friend, they've been telling me both separately to be playing Stardew Valley for months now, and I've been wanting to. I just never spent the money on it. So we spent the money on it. Well, my best friend did. And at first, I was like, I don't get the hype of this game. 185 hours later, here we are. And also, I know that's not true. I know that's not true. um, but yeah, no, I really like game. I really want to try Pokemon. I have played a Pokemon game, granted via an emulator. Like I played Fire Red via an emulator, and then I think on my old DS I played like Silver. Um, but yeah, I really I really like video games, and I really like Nintendo. I am a Smash Brothers fan. Um, I am 100% Waluigi for Smash. But yeah, I love games. I want to play more. Before we segue into our next conversation, two things. One, I'm sorry if you hear a fan in the background. I record these they take forever to record. So I've recorded this probably like a couple weeks after I've recorded the game section. Um, and it's still summer, and I need to be cold 24/7. So there we go. There's a fan. Um, Second, I want to take back something I said earlier about the Mario 3D games. I said I never played one, and I'm a liar. If you count it, I have played Mario 3D World. I love Mario 3D World. Um, I played it both on the Wii U and the Switch, and they're great games. I love them. I never beaten Bowser's Fury though, so there's that. But yeah, other than that, like I'm a liar, and I think I mentioned it too. I have played a little bit of Mario 64 and Sunshine, but again, I mentioned that, so ignore me. Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about hobbies, I guess. It's like hobbies and then like other stuff that I do. Books. I love books. I read books a lot. I'm trying to read 35 books this year. That's not happening. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna read what I want. Currently, I am reading the third book in the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard, which is King's Cage. I just started it. I'm recording this section on July 5th, and I started it on July 1st. So, a couple days. I'm not really that deeply in. I'm also using Audible, and I'm reading Girls Like Girls by Hayley Kiyoko. Because I really want to see that movie at some point. But I don't know when the last time I've read it. I have to be at least halfway done with the book. Maybe a little over, with Girls Like Girls. I have so many books on my to be read list. So many. But some of my favorite books, I love fantasy and horror. I haven't read as much horror as I've read fantasy, but I love Stephen King. He's one of my favorite authors, and I say that I've only read two of his books, but to be fair, one of them is my favorite book of all time, which is Carrie. Carrie is my favorite book, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite musicals. Um, I adore Carrie so much. I see myself in Carrie a lot too. which I know is kind of sad, but especially it's not as much now. It's like I see a lot of my younger self in Carrie. Um, but yeah, that's one of my favorite books. The other book I read, if you're wondering, by Stephen King is The Shining, and I do want to read more books from Stephen King. Misery has been on my to be read list for years now. Let's see what else. On the fantasy side of things, I really like the book series. It's a duology, and it's I can't remember like the proper the name of the two book series together, but the first book is called Daughter of the Bone Forest by Jasmine Sky. I love that book. The second book of the duology came out a few months ago, and I read it. As soon as I realized it came out, I was like, yes, I must read it. Well, actually, I reread the first book. I read Daughter of the Bone Forest last year, and I was obsessed. And then I got through that book very quick. I got through both books very quickly because I really just fell in love with that world. Shout out to Jasmine Sky if they're watching this. I know you're not writing. You're probably not writing another book in with these characters, but if you wrote another book in that world, I would love to read it. They're probably not watching this. Um, Another book that I really love, and I think okay, I know the author's name. I'm looking at my like stack of books right now. Is Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I also read that book last year, and it's such a magical book, and I love it so much. Another fantasy book that I am in love with, and I also read this last year, is This Princess Kills Monsters by Rai Herman. It was a book that came out last year, and I read it last year, and it was genuinely hilarious. Like, I've never visibly laughed at a book like I did that book. And I genuinely loved it. I think I might do another read through of it. I haven't read it since last year, but it was really, really good. And I highly recommend it. Trying to think. I have read horror books recently. Oh, one that I love, but it's also kind of a messed up book, is The Lamb by Lucy Rose. It's a quick read, too. If you're not that great at reading, the chapters are very, very short. Like, I'm talking like, sometimes they're like a page. I think the longest a chapter's ever been is like maybe 12 minutes on Audible. I started it on Audible and then I got the physical copy. And I actually gave it to my sister-in-law because she loves those kinds of, you know, messed up horror books. I also read Alice by Christina Henry a few months ago. I liked it, but I think I really need to be like, and not that I don't like Alice in Wonderland, I haven't seen it as much, you know? But like, you have to be like a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, I think, in order to get the references and stuff. And other books. Phantasma. Ooh, that one is a good one. Kaylee Smith, Phantasma. I mean, I liked it. There, I could go on about that book because I don't want to get into spoilers on these books because, you know, if you're a reader, I want you to read these books. It's like fantasy and horror. There's a lot there. And books that I want to read that are on my to be read list. Stephanie Garber's Caraval. I want to read that series. I have the first book. I think I got it for Christmas, and I have yet to read it. What else? I don't know the author's name right off the top of my head, but I believe the book's called Immortal Consequences. Another book that I have on my shelf, but it's facing the other way. So I don't know the author right off the top of my head. What else? Oh, Stephen Salvatore is an author who I actually met. They went to my college, and I want to read some of their books. I have a copy of their book, and They Lived, but I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet. They actually really inspired me with pivoting off of, books, I am a writer. I might have mentioned that earlier. I mean, I told you guys I went to school for writing. Writing's pretty much my life. I love writing. I'm currently working on a novel, and when I was telling Stephen Salvatore about my novel, they said to me, the world needs to hear your story. And because my book's about autism, about an autistic character, because I am autistic. And that really, that really does inspire me. And whenever I think, I can't really, like, maybe I should just scrap this book because I'm not getting ideas. I think about what they said to me, and I'm like, but the world does need to hear my story. And I know there are other, autistic authors out there and autistic characters, but, not enough. There's never enough. But yeah, I do write stuff. I don't have anything published, if you're curious. I don't. At least not officially. I mean, I have a Wattpad, but I don't know my username off the top of my head. I think, I don't know if my link tree is in my Instagram or not, but if it is, that's where my Wattpad would be if you want to read my writing, but that's a lot of my old writing, like high school writing. I think I'm a better writer from, I hope I'm a better writer. I went to school for 4 years for it. So, I know I talked about this during the TV show portion, but yes, I am a theater nerd. Well, formerly. I don't know. I don't really consider myself one anymore just because I'm not as engrossed in theater as I was when I was a teenager. But I do still love it. I am a singer. I sing all the time. And I do like musical theater. And I did do shows when I was younger. I did 13 the musical when I was 13. That was my first show. I have not done a show though since college, since Little Shop, and I would like to go back, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I was talking to my friend about this. I'm rusty. I haven't really been, you know, much of a, and even back then, like, I never took dance classes. I mean, I did, but I actually quit for theater, and it's one of my biggest regrets. I should have not quit dance. But anyways, I definitely gravitate myself towards behind the scenes. And it actually kind of goes back to writing because I do write plays on occasion. And I haven't written one in a while. And I can argue I haven't written a good one in a while. No, that's not true. The Train for the No Ones play that I wrote, which if anyone wants more information about, I will happily give. No, that one's pretty good. But yeah, I definitely gravitate myself more towards the behind the scenes. I loved when I did it in high school student costuming, and I still did it up until a couple years ago, and I want to do it again. I actually costumed also Little Shop of Horrors when I did it in college. And if you're wondering, one of my favorite musicals is controversially Cats. And I say controversially because I loved it before Cats the Jellicle Ball. Which I love Cats the Jellicle Ball. It looks fantastic. I wanted to coincide with the original because, I still love the original. It's just a magical time. I've seen it. That was the first show I saw on Broadway was Cats. When I was 15. It was right before the revival closed, the first one. And then I saw the movie, and at the time I liked the movie, and there's definitely a lot of positives. Well, not a lot of positives. There's some positives. There's definitely a lot of negatives. But I liked it at the time. I was 17 when I saw the movie. They shouldn't have done. I think it would have done better if it wasn't CGI, and that's a hill I'll die on. If it was more like the pro shot, I think it would have been great. And then I saw it again last year when I went on my cruise. It was the show that was on the cruise, and I got to watch it with my family, and that was great. Because I got my mom to go see Cats again. My mom slept through Cats when went to go see it on Broadway, and she does not. My family doesn't like Cats in general. Um, but yeah, I do really like Cats. I love the music. I do love the story, and I do know what the story is. And I do want to go see the Jellicle Ball because it looks so much fun, and I love what they did with Cats, and giving it that show the respect that I think it deserves, because a lot of people like to shit on Cats because without Cats like Jellicle Ball, it's just a bunch of cats roaming around, or people dressed as cats roaming around. I already talked about how much I love Little Shop. I also really love the show Sideshow, which is not a well-known musical. It's about the Hilton sisters, Daisy and Violet Hilton, who were vaudeville performers, and they were conjoined twins. And it's such a beautiful show. I was also in this show, and I guess I have such a special place in it because I just hold a lot of special memories from that show. But it is a beautiful show. I really recommend you check it out. Don't know if the 2014 revival album is on like Apple Music. I only say that because I bought the album like years ago. And I don't think it was at the time. It could be now. I don't know. I know the 1995 show, but they're the same, but they're different. I prefer the 2014 show because I think it's cool. And I like it. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, I do like musicals. Just not as much as I used to. Other hobbies I love are I love crafts, artsy stuff. I'm very artsy. I'm not like that great of a drawer, but I like drawing. Um, but I have made like several projects. I love Shrinky Dinks. I've gotten into those within the last year, and I've been making earrings. Um, although not Power Ranger ones yet. Although I'm working on it. Currently, my room's kind of not messy, but like I have my old mattress pad on the floor because I got a new mattress. So, like, my workspace is kind of compromised. But yeah, I have stuff that I need to make, and I want to make Power Ranger earrings. I love to paint. I paint little mushrooms. I'm working on, because I'm seeing one of my friends tomorrow, and I'm excited. I'm working on a little mushroom for them, and it's turning out really cute. I'm gonna have to finish it up though. Put the little dots on it and then seal everything up. But I love painting little mushrooms. They're so cute, and I paint a lot of them. I'll probably put pictures up on my on this video. It might be in the thumbnail. I should review this video before, if in case I say I'll put this up and then I don't end up doing it, because I tend to do that a lot, especially when I don't record videos. When I record videos, like, and it takes me like 2 months. Anyways, I also love bedazzling. That's something I'm getting into, or I have gotten into, and I have bedazzled a lot of stuff. I bedazzled like my little hand sanitizer thing. I bedazzled a duck. I bedazzled a jar. Not like the whole jar, but like I have a pens jar, and I just put pens like on the jar. I have bedazzled the mushroom. I bedazzled my little charging compact that I bring whenever I'm traveling and stuff. I got 2 of them, and I'm working on another one. One's rainbow, and then the other is going to be like pink, because pink's my favorite color. But yeah, I love bedazzling, and I want to get into loom knitting, or just knitting in general. I really want to learn how to sew. That's something I've been wanting to do for years, man. Like, over a decade. And I know how to sew a little bit, just not well. Like, not well enough where, like, I could sew something and be like, here you go. What else do I do craft-wise? I'm open to doing more. I want to do more. I want to learn how to needle felt too. But is that everything, I think? Oh, I do want to say, I this kind of goes with, like, media. And I did this, I talked about this, like, a while. I talked about this isn't the first time I recorded this episode. I recorded it 2 years prior. And I might have mentioned that earlier. I might have not. I don't remember. But I really love Good Mythical Morning. That's, like, one of my favorite YouTubers. I kind of fell off of them, ironically, after recording that video. Just because I was going through a lot of stuff. But I recently got back into watching them, and I'm happy again. But yeah, I think that's everything that I want to say. Now you know my life. I hope you enjoyed it, because I know I did. That's like a Hilary Duff said it in, like, a meme. It's a meme now, but I don't know what it was. But that is it for this video. I know it's kind of not traditionally my video, and I love how this is probably the longest video I've made, and it's all about me, me, me. I want to know more about you. Tell me about your Power Ranger history. Tell me your hobbies. Let's be friends. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. Also, let me know what videos you guys want me to do. I have some ideas, but I need more ideas. I mean, because until I get to finishing Power Ranger, I don't have a video planned. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and if you guys aren't already, you should subscribe. That would be sexy. What else would be sexy is you should follow me on my Instagram at Lilies_RangerWorld. I'm trying to do more edits. And you'll get all my latest updates. I think I'm going to be reviewing Super Space Sheriff Gavin Infinity on my Instagram instead of on YouTube because I didn't take notes for it. I also wasn't expecting it to end so soon. It might even be over by the time I upload this video. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you nerds next time. Bye!